want to do two poems today. One by the famous Elizabethan playwright Ben Jonson, a contemporary of Shakespeare's who wrote probably the greatest tribute to Shakespeare at the beginning of the first folio, about his praise for this great fellow playwright of his. Unlike Shakespeare, Ben Jonson published his own plays and appears to have taken them more seriously as literature than Shakespeare did, at least if publication is the test of this. But this little lyric called Still to be Neat is taken from one of the plays of Jonson's called Epicene, or The Silent Woman. And it's a song that's sung by a servant of a character named Claremont. And it's about Lady Haughty and his dispraise of her in these lines. Still to be neat, still to be dressed as you were going to a feast, still to be powdered, still perfumed. Lady, it is to be presumed, though art's hid causes are not found, all is not sweet, all is not sound. Give me a look, give me a face that makes simplicity a grace. Robes loosely flowing, hair is free. Such sweet neglect more taketh me than all the adulteries of art. They strike mine eyes, but not my heart. So here's a lady who's always made up, as it were, always neat, always dressed. And the question is, why so much care? Why all the so-called adulteries of art if her nature is as beautiful as she seems to want to make it appear? We could dig into that one a little bit, but I'll come back to a similar poem maybe later by Robert Herrick, who was one of the disciples of Ben Jonson. It's called Delight in Disorder, and I think we'll pick that up later. But for today, another poem called Jordan 1 by George Herbert, who is, as I've spoken of him earlier, is one of the English Anglican divines who turned to poetry as a pious practice of his and a way to praise God without being homiletic about it. So this is Jordan 1, and it too is about art and what kinds of things art might be covering up instead of revealing. Who says that fictions only and false hair become a verse? Is there in truth no beauty? Is all good structure in a winding stair? May no lines pass except they do their duty, not to a true but painted chair? Is it no verse except enchanted groves and sudden arbors shadow coarse-spun lines? Must purling streams refresh a lover's loves? Must all be veiled while he that reads divines, catching the sense it too removes? Shepherds are honest people, let them sing. Riddle who list for me and pull for prime. I envy no man's nightingale or spring, nor let them punish me with loss of rhyme, who plainly say, my God, my King. So Herbert's interest here is pretty clearly in a straightforward style and a kind of perplexity and impatience with those who make their verses either too conventional or too deliberately difficult. He may be thinking of men like John Donne or others whose sense is sometimes at two removes from the plain language that Herbert would like to use here. This poem also has its perplexities, such as what it means to pull for prime, apparently a card game, primero, that you had to have a certain card or series of cards that would win you the game. And, if you make this analogy to poetry, then it never works, or it's never respectable unless it's difficult. And Herbert wants to change that and make the wit and beauty of the poem come out of the truth of what it's saying.